I will start with Colleen.
Do I get to take this chair home? I just want to know.
I don't have the authority. I would love to let you.
See how comfortable I am right now?
No wonder gamers game for so long.
God.
Yes, you think I look like this by choice? Look at these chairs.
Yeah, right?
These are the best.
The Sonic panel, ladies and gentlemen.
Gotta go fast.
We're going to have chair dancing at the end.
Shazam.
All right, this is the Go Fast Sonic panel. We're going to talk about the art of Sonic voice acting, and we have 3 terrific voice actors for you today. First off, she was Blaze the Cat, the original Blaze the Cat. Please give a hand up for Erica Schroeder. How are you? There you go. Sit right there.
Number 2.
Number 2.
That's my lucky number.
Lucky number 2, there you go. Second up, Vector, the crocodile himself, Keith Silverstein. How you doing, Keith? Take a seat, my friend. There you go. Yep, perfect.
Wow, look at
Thank you so much. And then finally, you know her as the voice of Tails, Colleen O'Shaughnessey. Welcome to the stage, all 3 of you.
Hello, hello.
No, we got a timer. We got a timer right here. What happens when this runs out? Do we explode?
Faster.
Gotta go fast.
Gotta go
That's the
fast.
whole rule.
Gotta go fast. Gotta go fast.
That joke gets so much mileage. It's amazing. So my first question, in doing research for this panel, it amazes me just how omnipresent the 3 of you are in voice acting in general. You have Erica, who obviously everyone knows from One Piece. Yes? Any One Piece fans out there? Yep. Keith Silverstein, who I think has been in 5 video games that I've played this year alone. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. The man is everywhere.
You got good taste in games.
Oh, appreciate that. And Colleen, we know her as Tails. I have a little bit of a bone to pick with you, Colleen.
Oh, you have a bone to pick with me?
I do. I have young.
What did I do?
I have young daughters.
Yes.
And I found out that Tails is not the only fox that you voice. For those that don't know what I'm talking about, Colleen is the voice.
Ping Pong!
Is the voice of Pink Fong.
Except that, wait for it, not a fox.
Not a fox?
No.
That shows how much I pay attention to
It's
what
a
my kids
cat.
watch on TV. It's a what?
He's a cat. It's a cat. There's no pronouns. It's a cat.
It's a cat?
I totally thought it was a fox too. Like most of the time that I was working on it, and they're like, not a fox. It's a cat. Obviously, it's a cat.
Well, anyway, I do want to say thank you.
It's pink.
My 5-year-old thought I was the coolest guy in the world when I said, I'm talking to Pink Fong today.
I love it.
Yeah. So first question is how, and this is for whoever wants to start, how often are you working on multiple jobs at once? Like multiple characters, different studios, different approaches, and how do you keep all those characters straight in your head? It's got to be daunting.
Because we have to.
Not why.
Job requirement.
It's a job requirement.
It really is. I think all of us are doing that, right? I mean,
Well, it's pretty rare. It does happen, but it's pretty rare in this business that a company or a studio is like, we need you for this project. It's going to be like 8 hours a day, 5 days a week for 4 or 5 weeks. Those things do happen in like really big mocap games, but most of the time it's 1 thing on Monday, 2 things on Tuesday, 3 things on Wednesday, 1 thing on Thursday, whatever it happens to be. And they're all different things.
should we talk about how we keep them straight? I know we all have different methods, but all of us have this one thing called a reference. People call it, the director or the engineer will call it a ref, right? And so some of us were doing the job every week. It's a bigger role. We don't necessarily need our ref. And sometimes it's like once a month, like 3 lines for a particular character, or once every 6 months. And we'll say, either they'll say, would you like a ref? Or I'll say, I'll start the session, I'm gonna need a ref, meaning a reference. And reference sometimes is from the original, like the first time you voice the character, a couple of cues, or sometimes it's from the last episode. It depends on the studio that you work at and how they do things. What about you guys? Do you have any other ways of keeping track?
I definitely use the reference. It's funny, you said maybe every month. There's also games that we haven't worked on for 10 years.
15 years later. Wait, I'm sorry, I did what now in what franchise?
Exactly.
Like, okay.
It happens, and you're like, I definitely want a ref. I want to hear what I sounded like, 10, 15 years ago. Sure. So reference is the main way. And I want to say, how many of you out here have ever posted anything from a video game online? Like you streamed or something? Okay, so this is a big thank you to you guys, because on occasion, we ask for a ref, and they don't have it, and guess where we go? We We go right to YouTube, and we couldn't do that without all of you guys. So we
true.
appreciate it.
100%.
How
We appreciate
often
it.
do you guys have to go to YouTube? At least once a
it happens.
week, right?
It happens.
It's true.
For sure. I don't know if I have any other tricks. Sometimes there's a way a character stands. For me, I really like to hear the ref especially because we do these conventions, right? So let's say I haven't worked on Overwatch for 8 months or something, right? But I'm doing cons and I'm doing the voice for you guys. I'm doing quotes. Come get your armor, and I'm doing that, and maybe I start to skew lower.
Yeah.
And I start going, come get your armor to everybody. And it's a little deeper than he is, and he's a little brighter than that, Torbjörn, ready to work, and he's up here more, So then I hear the ref just because maybe I've screwed myself up
That is true.
by doing it. It's true.
Yeah, I'll do that halfway through sometimes too, because especially like if you're playing, there was something I worked on recently, and it's the same character, but in different scenes, like there's a flashback. And they're like, oh, this is the young one, but not the super young one. This is the middle young one. I'm like, whoa, what did I do? Like, I just need to hear what I did a few lines ago and then go back. But sometimes for me, though, too, it'll be a certain line that'll get me into character. Like when I was doing Naruto, I played Ino and Konohamaru, and I was doing other projects at the same time. And so all I had to do, though, was say his name. All I had to do was Konohamaru! And I'm like, okay, I'm good, let's do it.
Yeah, we call that like a key phrase, right?
Yeah,
Sometimes
totally.
a key phrase
Yeah.
But yeah, lots of different ways to get back to it. But don't you guys find that like the more subtle the change of the character, the harder it is to get back into? So these characters that are like way, way, way far away from us are much easier in general. I don't want to speak for everyone here, but like
I agree though.
I feel like it's much easier to get back into the extreme characters than the more subtle ones.
That does
Definitely.
I would just like to point out how fascinating it was, how quick he was in character when he was doing those Overwatch voices just now. He just turned it right on. That's amazing.
Turn it on, just go.
How do you do that?
Just do it. I don't know. I have no idea.
I'm curious from a voice actor's perspective about recording sessions solo or versus in a group. What do you do more, and what do you prefer as far as your performance is concerned? Do you prefer to bounce off other people you're in a scene with, or do you prefer to just record your lines solo in your own booth or in a separate booth?
I prefer the group. I love me a group read. It is so much fun. And it's just great to get that, the bouncing back and forth off of your fellow actors who are always brilliant, and to be in the booth with them is a joy. It's so much fun. But most of what we do is solo, and even before COVID, it was starting that. Even if it was original animation, I got to work on Doc McStuffins. Yay! But they recorded everybody separately. I'm like, but we're all here. We could do it. Why? Why can't we do it together? And I don't know why. They decided, and it was a choice. They chose to record everybody separately, which I thought was a poor choice, but that's what they decided to do. So, but with video games and anime, we're always by ourselves. I think I had one game session, maybe two, that I can think of that I actually got to be in there with another actor. I don't know.
Keith?
Yeah, I think I prefer group recording also, but I will say there are some things that are advantageous to recording alone, just sometimes. And we don't get to do it as much for the group thing, so that's also why I want that. I'm like, oh, the group thing's the best.
Yeah.
But it is sometimes cool to be able to isolate and just focus on your character. It depends on what you're doing. If it's a real bounce off of other characters thing, you always want that group thing.
You just like monologues.
But if it's like, if it's a dark monologue, you're telling your whole life story, and then building up to a big fight, and then your death scene. Like if it's that kind of a vibe, sometimes being in a small booth all by yourself, you can forget the entire world, and you can just really dive into that character. You don't have an extra 6 people staring at you, and it's not a concern. Oh, I want to hurry up so they can get to their part or whatever. So I think they both have their advantages. But I think most actors are going to say like the bouncing off each other if we get to choose. But it's nice to have both.
Yeah, I'm going to say ditto. I mean, exactly what they said, just to like sort of explain a little bit more of what they talked about, like the anime or, iDub, in from so many different languages, Korean, also French, German, Ukrainian, Russian. And so with those dubs, we always have to do, we have to do it one at a time because we have the 3 beeps, and then it just would be not a good use of anyone's time to have more than one person in the booth at a time.
Sure.
But when we do prelay, which is like, I always use The Simpsons as the example. The Simpsons in America is a prelay. They could record together if they wanted to, if they weren't all so famous now. And then, yeah, I mean, that's basically the way it works. So you can do your prelays separate, or you can do them together, but your dubbing, you always have to do separate.
Now, it's sort of like a side question to that. During the COVID times, the pandemic times, were there any Zoom recordings? Had you ever tried that? Did that work out for you at all?
You mean like in our closets?
What is
it called again?
Did you say Zoom?
Moose? What? Zuzi?
Zuzi.
Zuzi and the Banshees?
How quickly we forget.
We have the Zoomies?
No, it still happens.
I just had a Zoom record session last week.
Oh,
We're
still
Zooming because they figured out how to do it. And we all have studios at home now, so
Yeah.
poof, we're still doing it.
It's not always Zoom though. Like we have probably 12 different ways that we work.
So
from
many
home,
different ways.
right?
Yeah.
It's like, and then once you feel like you figured it all out, then someone comes and they're like, we work this way. And you're like, no. Because then you have to figure it out and like cross your brain, your technical brain with your artistic brain, which is, always difficult at the beginning of every session. But I do almost all of my recording from home still. Yeah.
That's cool.
Almost everything of mine, I think I had one project. I had 43 projects over the last 2 years. The only reason why I know that is because I had to create a list for something. And only one of them required me to be in the city. So I'm based out of New York, and you guys are based out of Los Angeles.
LA, yeah. I do about 20% of my sessions now are over the internet, via Zoom or whatever we're using. But obviously during COVID, it was almost 100% of them. But I like to, if I can, and I'm local, so I can go into the studio. At this point, I prefer to go into the studio if they're all closed.
Yeah, if I'm given a choice, I'm like, in studio, please, please, please. I'm not a sound engineer. I can do it now because I learned how, and I have a system that works for me. I did not learn Pro Tools because I was like, nope, system overload, can't do it. I probably could have, but I didn't want to. I was like, I got a button. I have a knob. It goes up and it goes down. That's all I need. I got a round button, swirly thing. The lights go up and the lights go down. I'm not a sound engineer, and God bless them.
No,
Thank
I
goodness
love
for them. I can't. It makes me too nervous. I can do it. I prefer not to.
Yeah, we don't call it. What I like is that you said, I'm not a sound engineer. Either am I. I will never claim to be. And a lot of actors do. And I'm like, guys, come on. Some can.
Some
of them
are really,
are.
and some are really tech savvy, and they love to know like every single microphone and every preamp. I'm like, I didn't even know what a preamp was. I was literally, I think I had my very first panic attack, and I was like, we're on one of those.
Same.
And the sound engineers were amazing over COVID, like teaching us and trying to help us get there so that we could all, like the voiceover community just like rallied around each other. But we're literally in like my very first Zoom meeting ever. And I was like, I don't know what this is. And everyone's like typing in the chat. So I figured that out. And then I think I'm having a panic attack right now. Because some of the engineers also, they speak tech, which I do not.
Right.
And I was like, I don't know what you're saying. You're speaking a different language, literally. Like I was so I can do it now.
Tough.
It's all good, but it was hard.
Yeah. Stressful. So we talked about references or refs earlier.
Yeah.
Talk to me about when you are going in to record for a Sonic character, or when you did record for a Sonic character back when you were playing Blaze. What was your reference? What did you try and pull from? To be Vector, to be Tails, to be Blaze, like what maybe other characters you voiced or other references that you've taken from outside of your own work. I'm curious how you develop that character before you get into the session.
Cool. I guess I could go first. Blaze, it was the first time anyone had ever voiced Blaze. So for me, it's about usually the character design, and I honestly don't remember if they showed it to me or not. And then the series of adjectives. Right? We're looking at like the facial expressions and things like that and the way that the face is created. But then we're also looking at those list of adjectives they give us or the paragraph about the character. And with Blaze, also, usually we only have like one director and an engineer. It's sort of typical unless it's a bigger project. So I had like the producer in the room, a director in the room, an engineer in the room, and someone from Japan, and then also a translator, and maybe one other person. I think there was like 6. So it was like they wanted to get it right. And so I remember being a little bit happy, right? But a little bit intimidated, because when you have, it wasn't too many cooks in the kitchen, it was just the right amount, but it was like, I need to make sure that I'm getting it right for everyone who's here. And sometimes it can feel like when you're getting that much direction that there's conflicting direction. But you have to realize that when a character's talking to their mom as opposed to when a character's talking to their son or something, different personality attributes can come out. So sometimes those things can work together, but they're happening at different times, right? Or sometimes it's a complex personality. You know, we all have multi-facets to us, and that's the thing about learning your character. The more facets they have, the more complex it is. Sure. So I felt like it made a very complex character, which I think I appreciated and the fans appreciated. But it was one of my more challenging starts, I would say. What about you, Keith?
Interesting. So when I auditioned for Vector, they sent out this audition. There had already been voices for Vector before, but they didn't give us a voice to match, because sometimes they'll ask us, sound like this, sound like the last person. They didn't do that in this case. They explained, you know, he was this gruff, I mean, obviously he's a crocodile, he's this gruff sounding detective, and I don't remember the entire description, but I'm sure, and maybe I think he was maybe East Coast or something, so I'm sure I auditioned and it was not what it ended up being. Right. So, you know, I'm sure I did some kind of a, you know, thing like this, some kind of a New York. I don't know exactly what I did, but, you know, he was, hey, you know, something like that, right? And like a week or so later, myself and I'm sure a number of other actors got another email that said, hey, here's the voice reference. We don't want you to match this, but just so you get an idea of what Vector is, right? Because I hadn't looked him up before to see what he sounded like, because they weren't asking for that. So I was like, let me just give you what you're asking for. Yeah. Because we play against characters. You don't always go goofy. Sometimes a little character, you know, has a real deep voice, or a big character has a high voice. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna do what they said, gruff detective. So they played the reference was in the email. And as soon as I heard it, I was like, oh my God, why didn't you tell me you wanted a Muppet voice? I'm like, hey, if I'm gonna do a Muppet voice, I'm gonna do Vector the Crocodile. You know what I mean? That was like all I needed. So I was like, well, they could have just read kind of a Muppet voice, and I would have been like, I got you. But I was like trying to, okay, gruff detective, let's go. Let's go. So that's where I came up with that character, and I've had a lot of fun doing him. I look forward, hopefully I'll get to dig into the character even deeper in the future. You know, we'll see. But he's a lot of fun. He's got a good energy to him.
Cool. And Colleen?
Love that. So I don't remember my audition for Charmy at all. I remember my sessions because I was Charmy before I was Tails. So I cannot speak to that. But as far as like needing a reference, I absolutely needed one, because he came up in a game, I forget exactly when, but once I did get Tails, then there was Charmy, and I was like, oh gosh, what did I do for Charmy? I don't remember. Is he just younger? I don't know. So we had to kind of like, and then they were like, well, we don't want him to sound too much like Tails, obviously. So it was sort of like well, let's just tweak it a little bit so that it definitely sounded different. When I was auditioning for Tails, same thing. They didn't say they wanted, you know, any sound alike, or, you know, these are the other Tailses of the past. I just, you get the sides. Sides are like, it's a piece of a script, and I love a picture. I'm a visual person. So for me, if I have a picture, that's almost all I need. But there's a description, and it gives you an age range, or whether, you know, if it's a boy or a girl, or and then personality traits and those kinds of things. So that's, you know, and then you just, like Keith said, you just give what you think they want, basically, based on what they've given you. So that's what I did, and then I got a call back, and I was auditioning for Sonic Boom. I did not know at the time that video games were gonna be the extra added bonus. I had no idea. So I thought it was, oh look, a Sonic show, that's fun. So I auditioned, I got a call back for Tails and Sticks. And who's in the lobby at my callback? Kate Higgins. Oh. At the time, the current voice of Tails, which I did not know, because I didn't know that. So we're just chatting. I have kids, she has kids. We're talking about our kids. We're just hanging out in the lobby, la 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 la. And it somehow comes out that she was the current voice, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to audition for your part. And she's like, oh no, it's all right. They don't want me. It's all you do. It's okay. I'm here for sticks. It's okay. Is that okay?
Yeah,
Kate Higgins? Yeah, is that a good one? Okay. And so I kind of felt like, okay, I have her blessing or whatever. But it was, and she's I've seen her, of course, since, and I'm like, and it's just, the Tails is like the gift that keeps on giving. I'm so lucky. This is my 10th year voicing Tails. It's amazing. Yeah. And then when I got it, they were like, oh, by the way, we're gonna do yes, please, we want you as Tails, but we're gonna do a game first. I'm like, whoa, that's great. So, and here we are.
10 years later, it's amazing.
Yay.
I love that we all had similar stories and that they didn't tell us exactly what they wanted. They wanted to see what we brought to it.
Yeah.
Which I think is cool.
Do you find that auditions like that are better? That pulls more from you creatively as opposed to them laying out exactly what they want at any given moment?
I love when we can do what we want first.
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, I prefer to have my own gut instinct first, but
Sure.
Agreed. Because also, like, you can do a voice match and you get really close, and especially if they sometimes with that audition, if they want a voice match, they'll give you clips, and then the script that you're reading is the same lines as what you have, but then you also have to do that on new lines, which you can do. We can still, but I'm not going to have the same instincts as Erica does or as Keith does. Like, I wouldn't say it, even though it's the same character, I'm still me. So my interpretation of that line is going to be different than whoever did it before.
Right.
So it just makes it, you can come really close, but perhaps I would put an emphasis on a different word than they would, or musically it would be up or down or different. It's
Sure.
tricky.
Keith?
I've now forgot the question.
Do you prefer when they allow you to audition?
Oh, yeah, when they
versus
yeah.
spelling everything out?
I like if they can give a strong description of what they want from the character.
Yeah.
I really do. Now, there are occasions where they don't know at all what they want, but then it feels a lot like a crapshoot, to be totally honest. If they're like, we don't know, it could be anything, then everybody's guessing anything and throwing it against the wall. Right. So I like when they have a decent description. I don't like voice matches. I mean, that doesn't mean I don't do them, but it's not my favorite thing, because when you're doing an impression, it's one of the few things you can like really be wrong at. In voiceover. Like, you're just wrong. Yeah. Sorry, that doesn't sound like them. You're just wrong. Yeah. Whereas anything else is your idea of a character, something you've created, and maybe they don't choose you, but it's not like you were wrong. Oh, that's cool, but I don't think that's going to work for this character. Right. So voice matches are not my favorite. When they say in the vein of or inspired by, and they give you a vocal reference, well, that's cool, because you can do one take that sounds as close to that as you can, and then you can take the basic elements of whatever that character was and talk for a little while, do 5 minutes on your own, just talking to yourself or reading something as that, and let yourself take it where you naturally want to, and then do it again. Sure. And then you have, like, here's my version of this character, and here's pretty close to what you guys did. Cool. So that's cool. I just like some freedom, I guess. Yeah, no, I completely, it's a creative medium, so that makes perfect sense to me. Questions. Next up, I have one question for each of you individually. Okay. I will start with Colleen.
Do I get to take this chair home? I just want to know.
I know,
I don't have the authority. I would love to let you.
How comfortable I am right now?
No wonder gamers game for so long.
God.
Yes, you think I look like this by choice?
Chair
look at these chairs.
Yeah, right?
These are the best.
The Sonic panel, ladies and gentlemen.
Gotta go fast.
We're gonna have chair dancing at the end.
Shazam!
Sorry, I interrupted you with Colleen.
Can we have these for the plane?
These would be horrible on the plane. You would be taking off and you'd be like...
All right, bolt it to the floor, but spinning it.
Bolt it to the floor would be better, yeah.
I'm back, okay.
Secret lab plane coming soon, you bet. You watch. Colleen, let's start with you. So you started with Tails, as you mentioned. You started with a TV show, you started with a video game, then the movie studio calls. And you're suddenly recording for a blockbuster film as Tails, the character you've been forever, on a whole new level. Look at that. Look at that. Come on. Crushed it.
Well...
So my question is, talk to me about the differences, if any, in recording for a video or a video game or a TV show versus the big blockbuster studio? Did they have you do anything differently? Did they make you do anything differently, or were you allowed to just be the character you have already been?
Well, so Tails is Tails, right? So, but Tails in the movie, see, here's the thing. Okay, I approach Tails the same way every time, whether it's a game or the movie or the show or whatever. Whatever circumstances Tails finds himself in, he's still Tails.
That's true.
But maybe the stakes are higher. Maybe it's more like Jeff Fowler called me on the phone before we started recording. I'm like, the director's call. It's so funny because I don't answer phone calls that I don't recognize the number.
Sure.
But one of my kids happened to be in Santa Monica, which is a 310 area code, and so I was like, oh, I better answer this. So, now you guys all know his area code number. Sorry. But so I answered it, and it was him, and I was like, hello? But it was great because we had this great conversation, and he just kind of wanted to talk a little bit more about, he wanted to talk about the vibe or whatever of the movie. He kept using words like grounded, high stakes, And the biggest difference between, say, Sonic Boom and the movie, besides Sonic Boom being very silly and very broad, a little, it's silly, besides that, as far as the relationship with Tails and Sonic, Tails and Sonic, long friendship happening there. It's very established. Whereas the movies, this is the beginning. It's like their origin story. It's like the beginning, how they meet. And so we're at a different place with them, a different place in time, different circumstances, higher stakes. And what was so great though, so as far as the mechanics of it, the actual doing of it, it's the same thing. You're standing in front of a microphone, reading a script, listening to a director, hopefully giving them what they want, and then they're saying, hey, can we try it this way? And then you do that, and hopefully you've given them what they want. That's the the basic voiceover 101, that's it. You do your job, they give you stuff back, you hopefully can do that back for them. But I had just worked on Sonic Frontiers a couple weeks before I had my first record session for the second movie. If any of you have played Sonic Frontiers, yay, it's a great game, right? Very different game than any of the other games. All the other games, gotta go, come on, let's go, Sonic, Eggman. It's all this it's racing, it's fast. You gotta go fast. You gotta get your rings. You gotta go. Every line for Tails, pretty much in most of the games, is that da-da-da, ba-da-da. It's all very similar. Frontiers comes along, there's dialogue. There's higher stakes. They kept using words like grounded, so very much different kinds of performances for that specific game. I had just worked on it a couple weeks before. I'm hearing grounded, maybe, more mature, because he's, has to grow up a little bit, stakes are higher. So those are the differences for me. But for me, that's where it comes back to, it's voice acting. These are all acting choices, and I didn't have to change the Tails voice. It didn't have to sound different, but I had to act it. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? I don't know.
Not sound different, be different. It's like two sides of the same coin almost.
Yeah, and it was still very COVID-y, so I was in my closet with my laptop balanced on my drawer and things hanging and crazy. My first two sessions for the movie were in my closet.
I love that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Love it.
No matter what, you can record in your closet.
Yeah.
Hollywood, big budget film, video game, TV show, the closet can be a haven.
Yes.
Remember that.
Has to be
Industry
sound
secrets.
treated. The more clothes you have in there, the better.
Yes, which is why my microphone was on my side of the closet.
Your clothes are
I
an
have
asset.
more clothes than my husband's. And now he built me a proper booth, so I have a proper booth now. But so anyway.
Awesome. Thank you for that answer. That was great.
Sure.
Appreciate it. Keith, next. You're up.
Hey.
We talked about how Colleen's been voicing Tails for 10. My math tells me that you've been voicing Vector now for nearly 15. Is that right?
Yeah, I think
15
your math
years
is
of
right.
Vector?
Wow.
That's amazing.
That's crazy.
Your playoff music already started. Sorry,
That's
no more
crazy.
time.
That's a long
crazy.
time, yeah.
That is a long
I can't even believe it. That's kooky.
So talk to me about how the character has grown in that time, and conversely, how your approach to that character whether it's in your technique or in the references that you use, has also grown parallel to where the story has taken the character.
Well, I got to be honest. There has been some growth, but a lot of the games that I work on, now as you know, Vector's not in. I know he should be in every game, but he's not in every game.
He should be in every game.
He comes around every 2 or 3 games, and he shows up. And it is very much like Colleen was talking about, where it's cheering things on or giving information.
Sure.
Hey, Sonic, remember, you got to do whatever you got to do.
Right? It's that kind of stuff, right? And every once in a while, there's a little like,
I hope I make some do-re-mi on this race.
you know, there's that kind of stuff. But he's not usually put in a storyline situation.
Sure.
So it doesn't force a whole lot of growth. And I didn't work on the Frontiers. I don't know if he had been in it, if there would have been, more character growth for him. I don't know what there might be in the future. The one exception for that, and not a huge exception, but was Sonic Boom. Mm-hmm. So when I did work on Sonic Boom, which was a long time coming, I remember getting calls and about like, hey, are you available? And I'd say, yeah, and we'd kind of have a date, and then we'll get back to you, and time would pass, and time would pass. 3 months would pass, and it was like, oh, I don't think this is happening. And eventually, I think it was like the last or one of the last episodes recorded, they finally brought me in for the Vector the Detector episode. And that I got to work with the majority of the cast, which was incredible. And we got to bounce off of each other. And they were like a fine-tuned machine because they'd all been working on this show for some time. So it's always fun to walk into that and everybody's, oh, okay, all right, I'm taking my cues from all of you. You know the vibe, you know how this works.
You make the fart noises next to Roger.
Roger was making fart noises.
Yes, of course he was. And you do dance moves with Cindy and me.
What about Kirk? Kirk always dances. Kirk Thorne always has a little dance with his feet. It's small. It's a small dance. Watch him when he records. He definitely does a dance.
I'll have to do that. I've never seen his little dance.
He does. He does a little dance.
Oh, now I got to see it.
And in that one, at least I got to play out a storyline, and we honored the detective part, which we don't always get honored. It might be alluded to in some of his dialogue, but at least in that one, he had a case to solve. Yeah. And that was really fun to be able to do that. So I think that was the most demanding of the ones, which, by the way, I did record in Colleen's closet, just for the record. So great acoustics, by the way.
I said, okay, but it's going to cost you.
That's premium recording real estate, apparently.
Exactly.
But yeah, so that was fun. There was some I got to try some new things with the character in that because I got more of a storyline. And hopefully in the future, there'll be some more of that because that's what really helps us to explore the character. You know, you can't just get bored of a character and decide you want to spice up the instructional lines. Sure. Because you'll go too far and they'll be like, no, you got to get the point across pretty quickly. And you just did this whole dramatic thing where you started crying and then you got back to joy and like, you can't fit that in there. So I'm sorry, you know.
If you hit the X button, you can go through this door.
Yeah, you can't do that.
It's too far.
Yeah, it's too far. So
made him too emotional. You had to leave.
And then finally, Erica, did not want to leave you out here. You were introduced Blaze to the Sonic fandom and joined a great run, and then you passed the baton.
Yes.
Did Laura or Erica seek you out for tips on how to approach this character when they took over? Did they come to you, and what advice would you have given to them if they did, or did you give to them when they did?
This is a cool question. I don't think it's typical for people to approach the person before, because we never know why that happens, you know. And I think for us it was like a city move. I think it moved to the different city, you know what I mean? But of course, if she had approached me, I would have given her all the tips she wanted. Laura's like the only person that's ever played a character that I've played that have not met yet.
Oh.
Yeah, so like I met Erica, and I've met Colleen, the other Colleen Klinkenbeard. I've met every Nurse Joy. I've met, Megan Hollingshead, but for some reason, Laura and I have never been in the same room, which is crazy to me.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, people, I know she did a fantastic job with it, and I know people also love Erica. I think I would have given the advice that not to think of Blaze as a particular gender, but to think of Blaze as a person first and find all the traits within her, as I say her.
Within them, yes.
Yeah, and then go from there, because the like I said, each character is going to be slightly different depending on their relationship, and I think that's a big thing with Sonic, is relationships.
Very
true.
true.
Every character has very specific relationship to one of the other characters. They're not exactly the same with everyone. And I think that's something that was really interesting when I was first exploring her, is like, who is she, with this person as opposed to that person? But no, I didn't get the chance to do that. But that I think is extremely rare. I don't know if people get to pass on, I had someone retire, so KZ Rogers retired from Wobbuffet and Evie, and I got to take over, and that was an opportunity for me to go to KZ because I got her blessing. She was willingly leaving and saying, "I bless Erica." I got to ask her a couple things, so that that was like probably the only time that I've had that experience. But
so then,
question.
reverse the situation here. What did you ask when you took the Evie baton? How did you approach that question? Because I imagine that might be a little...
The biggest part was the placement, because we all work with texture, and there's so many different types of texture. And I think the predominant texture that I use is a smoky texture. A more meaty texture, I would call a more Muppet texture, would be like, Grover, it is I, messenger of love with a special delivery. It's like a different kind of texture. And Wobbuffet had this texture that I was like, oh my God, how did she do that? And how did she sustain it? So I remember asking her, placement-wise, where is that, because I had it good enough, right, to take over. And one of the nice things was Lisa Ortiz, the director at the time, I was KZ for a good year or two. And she would watch me, she would come get me in the waiting room, and I would be listening to KZ still, because I was like, this placement, right? And then after about 2 years, we slowly slid into something that was slightly more comfortable for me. And that gave the audience time to ride along that journey. It's not so different from what she was doing, but it's just enough difference to something that I could sustain better for my vocal health.
That's cool.
It looks like we have our first Q&A fella right there. Come on up. Mike is right here.
Oh, nice.
Ooh,
Look at
Oh,
these
he is
steps.
strutting. Look at him.
19
Amazing
minutes and
steps.
28
It's the-
seconds.
Number one with style.
Magical
Goodness.
March.
Hello.
How's it going, pal?
Hello.
I'm going to be like Sonic and do a quick fire 3 questions in a row if you don't mind.
Hold on now.
All right. Colleen,
Yes.
Sonic Movie 3 is coming out. We don't know much about it. Trailer hasn't dropped yet. Hypothetical casting Amy Rose, Lisa Ortiz, Cindy Robinson, Andrea Libman, or whoever you want as a third choice. Who would you pick?
Well, I can't say that I'm familiar with all of their iterations of Amy. Cindy's my Amy, so I'd have to say Cindy. Not mine. You know what I mean?
Keith.
You made it look like that was the wrong answer. That was the wrong answer, apparently.
All of them
like
are great.
Cindy.
All of them are great.
Because she's my Sonic Boom Amy, and that's who I know as Amy. So.
Yeah. Keith, have you found the computer room yet?
I still can't find it. Find the computer room.
Hey, he wasn't the one finding it, though. Isn't that right? Wasn't he instructing you to
No,
find
I
it?
gotta-
So the question is,
Bingo! The computer room!
have you found it? Now, just for the record, though, that was not me who originated that line, which I tell everyone. That must have been 16 years ago.
With Dan Green.
There you go. Yeah, it was Dan Green, not me.
Oh.
And Erica. Similar to Colleen, who would you want as movie Blaze?
Who would I want as movie Blaze? That's funny.
Get it now.
I don't know. I mean, of course I would want to do it, but I would never step on anybody's toes. Whoever is meant to have it will have it. And by the way, that is a great way to work your way through this life as a voice actor, is to think whatever is meant to be is meant to be. Because the minute we start competing with each other, we've lost our whole purpose.
Okay, Erica, I met your Rose today, and here's a quick question. Was there a bit of confusion between Blaze's backstories? Because in 06 and Rush, she has different backstories, and they were pretty close to each other. The games are pretty close to each other. So was there some confusion with her backstory, if I remember correctly?
You know, I try not to get married to anything. You know what I mean? I just, whatever. As an actor, the most important thing to do is to please the producer and the director. Obviously, you come in with your ideas, but this was already written, right? And has nothing to do with my interpretation. My job is to say, what is the moment that is being played, and what do I want in that moment? Does that make sense?
Okay.
But I know that I think for a lot of people it was confusing, but I think of it as like, they were like, let's try something new. It's like a different timeline kind of thing,
Multiverse.
Yes, exactly, the multiverse.
Okay, you got it.
But no,
Thank you, pal.
thank you.
Thanks for your question.
I think it did confuse some people.
Next up, come on up right here. Hello again.
Hi again. Hi, Colleen. Hi, Erica. Nice to meet you again. Hi, Keith.
Hello.
Hello.
I have 2 questions. One, do you by any chance have a favorite Sonic moment? It could be anything, like a quote from a game, or like something that just happened that made you just love the character.
I know, I found out over the past couple of years that people did not love 06 so much. But I have to say that the scenes between Blaze and Silver in that are so special to me. I mean, I didn't remember doing them until like a fan sent it to me. I just said, hey, watch this scene. And I was so moved, I cried. I was like, this is really beautiful. So I in particular love the scene where Blaze sacrifices herself. Yeah.
Good answer.
Special moment, I think.
Keith.
Sonic Boom, working on that. There were some bits I did with Roger Craig Smith that were just really funny. It was just great to work off each other and get the right timing. So every once in a while, I'll watch that episode again, and it always makes me laugh. So that one.
Cool.
Nice.
Colleen?
There are so many Sonic Boom moments. I could be here forever. Duditude, oh my God. Duditude is back, y'all. We ain't whack, y'all. I mean, just ridiculous. We had so much fun. There's so many. Okay, I'm gonna go with a movie one. Like when he's having that moment with Sonic by the fireplace, and after they've won the dance battle, and he's like, maybe being weird isn't so bad. And it's just such a beautiful moment where he's being vulnerable, and Sonic's like, no, you're my pal. And he's like, really? Like, it's just so sweet and so beautiful.
Aww.
And so I'm gonna go.
Okay, now my second biggest question. Have you guys attended Sonic Symphony yet?
No, and I would love to.
No, and you said it was in Cleveland. I would have gone. Oh my gosh.
Seriously, I went to the one in New York City, and it was a blast.
Awesome.
You guys need to go.
Yeah.
You guys need to go.
I really want to. Okay.
Thank you.
Let's go together, guys.
Great
Let's
question.
go
Great
together.
question. That'll close there. All right, close there. Next up.
First off, ciao.
Aha.
Ciao.
I love ciao. Oh, awesome. So first off, can you say, find the computer room?
I think we established that, but it wasn't me.
I know it wasn't you.
One last
said it,
time.
Can you please just say
Hey, find the computer room.
it? Like, can you say it the way that he said in the game, like the find the computer room?
I don't know, because it's not me. That Dan Green gets his credit for however he did it, and that's how I would have done it. Maybe it wouldn't have been as good, but...
And first off, I would like you all three to do lines for your characters.
All right, so your turn.
Just another
Would
line.
like us to do what?
Lines. Like say some, I'd like all three to say like something your character said.
Okay.
One line per character. Yeah, let's go.
One of my favorite lines, a couple of you heard it today, is, "You're so naive, but I've always liked that about you." I just think it's so sweet because it's like, and then it's like, oh, it's like the 180. Yeah.
This wall tastes like dirt. You're welcome.
Wait, was your line for Blaze or?
Yeah, that was
Okay.
Blaze. Yeah.
And then you've already done.
I got you, yeah, you
And
betcha.
I'd like to bounce off of also the mention of 06 and just quickly mention the Project 06. Have any of you heard of that? Project 06, the remake. Oh, it's a fan-made remake, and it's apparently someone basically trying to fix a lot of the game's like flaws, and like, what if they actually finished it instead of having to release an alpha build? Apparently that actually is what happened, and because the team got split in half, half of them had to got sent to work on secret rings. So
We will.
I actually read that's why they didn't finish the game.
I
And they
will,
just
I will send them that reference because I feel like Erica might be interested in a remake of 06. If that were to come back,
it is. It's called. It's on computers. You can just.
I just can't do anything. I don't think any of us can do anything unofficial because then
Nope. Not unless you want to be the last thing you do.
Taking ourselves out of the job in the future, you know what I mean?
That's true.
Yeah, that's
I
the
mean,
only
if you
thing.
just play a game, you're not gonna like voice act for it or anything.
They'll sort of, playing it is different, yeah. The thing is I don't play games. I know this is terrible because I only want to die once. That's pretty much why. I don't know why, but like doing it as a character, it doesn't feel like it's like you can separate it enough from who you are, but then when you're there playing the game by yourself, I just get too stressed out. For cases, I love voicing them, and I love for you guys to play them.
Is it weird to hear your voice in something that you did?
Sometimes.
That's a good question.
But it's
If it
awesome.
surprises me, it's weird. If I'm walking down the street or I walk into a barbershop and they're playing Overwatch and I hear my voice the second I walk in, that surprises me.
It's also really weird when my voice comes out of Keith's mouth. I don't know. It's really weird when we're talking to each
And
other.
it happens
You're so
all the time.
naive. I don't like that.
I lost the room. What is it?
Did you find the computer
Do it for me. I'll do it.
I think Chow. Chow's
Dan's
just
gonna be like, you're trying to steal my...
Chow's just gonna say,
Go.
Thank you for your questions. They were great. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I guess we
I have
should
no idea
say
who that was.
ciao.
Ciao.
Next.
See you later.
All right. For Colleen,
Yeah.
out of all the Sonic Boom episodes, what is your all-time favorite episode involving with Tails?
Of all of the Sonic Boom episodes?
Yes.
I heard edibles eats edibles.
Tails
That's what
Crush.
I heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I played Zoe too, so that was super weird to be like, I had, having a crush on myself. But it was really fun. And actually, when we recorded it, because there was a scene where, Zoe and Tails, a couple of scenes where Zoe and Tails are talking to each other, and it's just me, and it's like, just me. So we did it a couple of different ways. I did it where I read down the page being both at the same time, and then we did it once just Tails and once just Zoe. So it was, but yeah, so Tails Crush.
That's cool.
Okay, so first of all, Colleen, Erica, good to see you two again, and hello to you, Keith.
Hi.
So my question for is for all three of you. So if all three of you were allowed to say one thing to your characters, if you ever had a moment with them, what would you say to them?
Oh, God. Give Silver a chance.
Good answer.
Shoo.
I would say you should think about getting your own game.
Yeah. I like that one.
What would I say to Tails? I don't know. He's so awesome. He doesn't need any advice. I'm kidding. I think I would say, don't ever give up on the gadgets, even though they don't always work out.
Aww.
Good answer. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
Great questions. All right. Next up
That's a
here.
fun question.
Hello again, guys.
Hey.
How's it
This
going?
might be silly to ask, but after a full year of being an official uncle, I was curious what your Sonic characters would give advice about keep on being a good uncle. Like
It's a great question.
I love that.
So sweet.
Oh my goodness.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congrats, for sure.
any. Yeah.
What they say
Okay,
about being a
what
good
kind of
uncle.
advice could we give to? Well, I mean, read. I read to my kids. They're 2 years apart. I read to them every night, 45 minutes each of them, their own individual time, because they had different, they were at a different time in their psyche.
Level, yeah.
Yeah, and that one-on-one time, it's also a great way to practice your voices, guys.
Yeah.
True.
And it's a great way to be your kid's hero, to be honest. And if they'll let you go into the classroom at some point, and read to your, is it niece or nephew? Niece. Read to her when she's in elementary school and her there's nothing more special than that. Nothing.
Yeah. It's all the time you can get with them. It's everything.
Teach her all about Sonic. Show her all the stuff.
That's
Introduce her to that. That's a good idea, for sure.
Eggman bad. Words to live by. Next up.
Hi there. I have two questions. One question. Okay, so the first question is that what are your thoughts on like the Sonic franchise back in like the 2000s where it was more serious in tone, and then in the 2010s it was more like self-aware or meta, and then in 2010, in the 2020s it got back to like the self-serious and grounded, more mature approach.
Is that a question?
I'm sure that's an illustration of the times. I mean, that's what happens with all franchises over time is they make little changes here and there, and they're speaking to a new audience and a new generation, and that's a natural shift I think that's going to happen. And they probably did what was popular at the time for each of those, and it will continue to evolve depending on what the audience, what the players, want and need.
Yeah, that is so cool. I hadn't thought about it that way. But like all of those things are always relevant. Like sometimes there are coaches out there in the business that will say, this is the way. There is no one way. It is whatever the style is of that show and about being truthful and grounded with who you are. It doesn't matter if the character, doesn't even talk and falls off of buildings only, right? Or if the character is talking to mother at the dinner table. The commitment is the same. And it's still grounded. So when they use that word, I get triggered because it's like, I'm grounded no matter what I'm doing, right?
Agreed. Thank you.
Oh, it drives me crazy.
you.
It's more about like, make it less interesting, make it more mainstream, make it less dynamic. Yeah. That's a better word.
I'd rather say be more serious.
Yeah, we're
not
always
comedic
grounded. It's like it's a classic producer term because they didn't really study acting.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
And the other question is that how would you feel if they made like a Sonic 4 and they casted Vector or like and Blaze the cat in the movie, if that ever happens or not?
Well, I think Keith and I will probably switch roles, I think, because
I've been thinking about it.
And I would love it. Join me.
Would love to.
I would love it.
I think we'd all love that to happen.
Yeah.
It's a rare thing. I mean, we know this every time they make a movie out of a video game. How often do they actually use an actor from the original game? I think it's once. It might be. So, I mean, I would love it. It would be fantastic. But that's kind of one of the things we fantasize about. And maybe it'll happen, or maybe it'll, be The Rock.
Thank you for your great question.
And if that did happen, they would all record in Colleen's closet. That seems to be the place to go. We do have one more. Time for one more. Go for it.
It's a Mario.
It is.
If you guys could flesh out your characters a little bit more with another form of media, whether a video game or a show, how would you want to do it? Like if Vector got to do
Wait, I'm missing
I'm sorry.
I think your mustache is betraying you here. There we go. Awesome.
Okay. If you could flesh out your characters a bit more with another piece of media where they got to be the main character, how would you do it?
Oh, I would want a series. To flesh out the character more, you're saying with any media? Well, listen, the actor in me is always going to say, well, what can I do a voice in? So I'm not going to choose like a book, a comic, a manga. I'm not going to choose that. So if they were going to flesh it out more that would affect me, I would want it to be a series, something that continues on where there's a storyline and I get to see other facets, other sides of my character. So that would be the ideal way to do it for me.
I mean, like what kind of storyline would you like to see in your own characters, like all of you?
Storylines? Yeah. I leave that to the people from Sega. Because you know what? I'm not a writer. Personally, I'm speaking just for me. I don't know how you guys feel, but I'm not a writer. My skills lie in taking what I'm given, and I certainly can add to it. I feel like, and I'm good with improv, and I can like if somebody, but I'm not a writer. It's not one of my skills. I could write a heck of an email, but I'm not. You know what I mean? Like But I would love a series.
But you should write some fan fiction and tell us how the story goes.
Yes, do that.
Right?
Yeah.
Just think about a gritty detective drama. Right? And then a case comes in every episode. A new case comes in, and somebody's got to solve it. Is there a detective in the Sonic series? Is there? Vector, yes. Yeah. So maybe his show. That would be cool.
That would be cool. Thank you for your question. That is the last one, unfortunately. We do have to cut it there. Before we end this, I am a big proponent of telling people that you appreciate them. So a major round of applause for our three panelists here, Erica Schroeder, Keith Silverstein, and Colleen O'Shaughnessey. Enjoy the rest of Too Many Games. Have a great night. Thank you.